Okay, in this assignment you guys are going to be learning how to make buttons. What I mean by that are these kind of buttons right here. They can pin into your shirt, so this will be a fun one. Okay, a couple things before we get going. I want to reset my Photoshop to Essentials, and I'm going to hide these tools because I don't really need them, and give me a little more room to work. The template that you have has several layers that we're going to talk about. I'll shut off all these except for the outside cutting diameter. The outside cutting diameter, if we look back at our button picture, is imagine this piece of paper that makes up this image. It folds around the front of this and into the back between the two layers. It's kind of sandwiched in there. So it's a little larger than this button is in diameter. So that's what is represented by this layer. Okay, the actual design area layer shows where you want to put the main part of your design. So, I mean, it's okay if your design bleeds out into here and covers this space all the way out to the edge of the outside cutting diameter. But you want to make sure that like if you have someone's face, you're not putting it right on that line or in between the two lines, because it'll fold around the edge and into the back of the button. Okay, so now that we, and there's one more layer. This layer, if I turn it on, it just gives me a little information about the drawings. So you can actually delete that one. Just click on it and hit delete on your keyboard. Okay, so what we want to do first is find an image. And like I said, you can use your images, you can take a picture, you can get a picture online, you can draw a picture in there, all sorts of things. So the sky's the limit. I want you to have text and pictures. Don't just slap a couple pictures in there. You can fill in 4 of these and get full credit, or you can do 6 and have 2 extra buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and look for a picture online. I'm just going to look for a duck. I'm going to go to images, and I'm going to refine my search by clicking on tools and size. I want to have large images. That way it won't get pixelated. I can actually blow up the image instead of and it not get pixelated. One important thing here is if you right click on a small image like this and save it and try to load it into Photoshop, sometimes it doesn't work because it's a JFIF format, and that's like, it's a JPEG but it's inside of that file format. So when you try to drag that into Photoshop, it's like, no, this isn't a JPEG, I don't want it. So the way to get around that is you click on the image and then you right click on this big preview image and save your image from there. Just remember where you saved your image and what the name of it is. Okay, and then we're going to go to our Photoshop, and you can go File and open the image from there. An easier way to do this that I like to do is, if I had this set up right, is just drag my image. So here's my one second. I like to just drag my image in. So it'll show up in the downloads bar, and then I'll just drag it from the downloads bar in. And now it's going to let me transform it, so I can adjust the size and move it around. So I'm going to shrink it down about the size that I want. And then, you know, I can shrink it more later too, or make it bigger or whatever. But get the general size and hit enter. I'm going to go ahead and scroll in, Alt, scroll wheel. Okay, I could do several things here. I could do my magic wand tool and actually, or quick select tool, and delete the area around it. Or I could just fill in behind it with white. But it's not letting me do either right now, so here's how we're going to fix that. Our layer is over here on the right. It says duck. I'm going to right click on that and say convert to smart object. I'm going to right click on it again and say rasterize layer. So now it's in pixels and we can work with it. So I could delete that away, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I think I'm just going to fill in around it with white. So I'm going to do Control Deselect, and I'm going to fill in this back layer. To do that, I need to have the outer layer selected. So I want to fill in the outer layer. I selected it, and I want to pick a color. So I'm going to pick here with the eyedropper and select this white that is around my duck. Then I'm going to go down, and right here is my paint bucket. It might be a gradient tool like that. If it is, right click on it, say Paint Bucket Tool. And then I'm going to click inside of that layer. Alright, you'll notice that it covered up my duck. That's because my outside cutting layer is above my duck layer. So if I take my duck layer and just drag it up, it's now on top of that layer. So almost there. A couple other things I want to do is I want to add some text here. And I'm going to take the actual design area, I'm going to drag it up one so I can see where that's at. So I'm going to select my move tool, I'm going to do Control T. I'm going to click on my duck and do Control T. I'm going to just make it a little smaller because I want my text to be just above the duck's head. And it's okay, my duck wraps around a little bit. Okay, so about there. Go ahead and hit enter. Alright, I'm going to add my text with this text tool right here. And I'm just going to click, and I'm going to select white right here, and I'm actually going to change that to, it has the eyedropper, I'm going to change it to match the duck's bill, and then I am going to say OK, and I'm going to type duck. Alright, I want it a little larger, so I'm going to highlight duck, and I'm going to change from 16 font to, like, I don't know, maybe 30. I also want my text to kind of arc so it fits inside of this circle. So I'm going to go here to the transform tool. It's going to pop up like this. I'm going to move it about where I want it, and I'm going to say the style I want is an arc. How about arch? Okay, I'm going to move it to about there. And you can bend this if you want in either direction to make it have more or less of an arch. You can distort it in either direction. But I like it about there. So I'm going to hit OK. That text looks pretty good. I could mess with it some more. I could change the font if I wanted. Just note that you have to have it highlighted to be able to change things in it. So there we go. Change the font. If I want to move it around, I can click my move tool, drag it around. I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to get rid of this back layer here. I'm going to drag it down one. And I like that. Okay, so you can add pictures, like I said, you can add text, you can draw things in here using your paintbrush. Really just whatever you want to do. Have fun with this one, and when you're finished, save it and submit it into Canvas.